everybody.
Good morning.
Welcome to our big gay brunch. We have a big gay friend hanging with us.
Hey! 3 Vegan Mos.
We do have 3 Vegan Mos. So people have been like reaching out to us and saying, oh, you want to be on the show? And we're like, sorry, we're starting off with all LGBT people that we can. And then we're going to move our way into non-vegan Mos and into vegan straight allies. Yeah. So we have Michael Harren with us here today.
Hi.
Welcome, Michael. We're so excited that you're here. Before we do anything, we should talk about what we're eating because we're vegans and we always talk about our food.
Yes.
So let me bring the camera up. And Michael, you want to tell everyone what we're eating?
Sure, we are having our diner-style pancakes from NYC Vegan, page 22 of the cookbook, along with field roast mini breakfast sausages. If you ever had Little Smokies, same kind of thing, but completely vegan.
Yay!
And it's a very special recipe for me personally because pancakes were the first thing I ever cooked on my own. When I was a little kid, one morning for breakfast, my mom said, oh, what do you want? I said I wanted pancakes. So she opened up her New York Times circa 1960-something cookbook, turned to the pancake recipe and said, here you go. And she supervised me making pancakes.
Oh.
So this is actually a variation of that recipe that I've been doing since I was like 6.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, let's dig in first. And
I've never had these sausages before. Field roast is my favorite thing.
we had them. I love field roast too. We had them. Where was it?
At David and Alex's.
Hi, David and Alex. If you're watching
Hi.
from Dubai, we hope you get back safely. Yeah, they made them, and I just thought, why didn't I try these? Because like when you grow up keeping kosher, which I did, breakfast meat is not something that happens.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. And so I was just like, okay, whatever. I will try it. And like they were so good. I was like, why am I not eating these for dinner? Like, why am I not having these all the time? It's all about the maple syrup.
It is.
Nice. Yeah, so, gosh, it's been like a week.
It's been a week since we saw you
It's been a
last.
week. It has been a week. It's crazy. So we were playing some music. I don't know if anybody, are you watching the stream?
I'm watching it stream.
Anyone out there have any idea why we played that music? First of all, you knew what the music was immediately.
Oh, yeah.
So the music was the theme to a wonderful film back in the 1980s called Chariots of Fire. Why did we play the music today?
Today is the whatever annual New York City Marathon.
Mm-hmm.
There are over 50,000 people from all over the world who come to New York City to run 26.2 miles through all 5 boroughs of New York City, starting for about a hot second in Staten Island, the forgotten borough.
Mm-hmm.
They run over the Verrazano Bridge into Brooklyn and then
They
keep going until they hit Central Park. It's craziness.
It is craziness, but to all of my patients out there who are running, you're not watching this now. You might watch the rebroadcast. We're open with extra hours this week. we'll be helping. Yeah, really, the marathon is like a huge part of the culture in our office. Starting in September, people start really getting injured when they have like these longer runs, and it's basically 2 months of craziness and all the physical therapists.
There's no audio happening.
There's no audio happening. That's scary.
Is the microphone on?
I wonder. Let me see what's going on here. Sorry.
Thank you for telling us, Jeff. Keep listening. Tell us if you hear something.
That's not good. We're gonna lift up the thing for a second.
This is live TV. This is what happens, people.
Amazing pancakes, P.S.
Can you hear us now? I think there was an issue with the thing being off. Can you hear us now?
Jeff, can you hear us now? You know, I'm going to turn my audio on.
Interesting. Let's see if this is... Or we might have to actually...
Oh.
Yeah, there's sound.
Okay.
It's totally fine.
Might be on your end, Jeff, but thanks for letting us know.
Thank you for replying, Kathy. We really appreciate you telling us.
Yeah, I was like,
Thanks,
how is there
Kathy.
no audio?
Yeah,
It's
this
strange.
is our monitor.
But the reality of the marathon is that people really get injured really badly, and there are a lot of people who shouldn't be running who are, or people who need some help learning how to run before they do. And so thankfully, my patients who are running today are all ready for this. They're safe, they're all good. You're a runner.
Yeah.
You are.
Talk to us about the running thing.
I'm not running today.
No, we're having running. We're having pancakes.
Yeah, pancakes, marathon. Today's pancakes.
It's a pancake marathon.
I'm a medium series runner. I run with a vegan running team, Strong Hearts Vegan Power. What's up? We have tons of vegans when we run these Ragnar relays, 200-mile relay races.
Love it.
With 12 runners. There's we used to have an elite team and then everybody else, and I was on like the really slow everybody else team, and now we're all mixed together. So it's great. Like you run it right around in a van for a weekend, running sometimes, eating a lot of vegan snacks in the van. It's like a long road trip
Sounds
where
like
you
fun.
run sometimes. It's actually really fun.
And you've been trying to get me to do this for a really long time.
Yeah.
You're going to keep trying to do this for a really long time.
Yeah, it's just so good. I try not to like be too pressury, of course.
No, of course. But like, if they did this like, I don't know, in the summer, I'd probably do it. And that's when you wouldn't. But I'm not a cold weather running guy at all.
Well, I'm not a cold weather guy.
That's true.
Period.
That's very true. How was your week?
It was good. Because last night we had a little date night.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the second stage theater.
Before we went to Second Stage
Before
Theater, we went in Brooklyn.
We saw a dance show in Brooklyn.
It was performed by the Lotus World Dance Company, and they're actually having their second day of performances today. It's over downtown Brooklyn, and it's basically all different kinds of dance from all around the world. And so last night we got to see traditional Okinawan dance, Okinawa being part of Japan now, but its own independent kingdom for many years. And they did beautiful Tibetan dance, which was crazy wild fun. And then they did all different types of flamenco,
which was amazing.
Really incredible. And then we raced up, went to Blossom
du Jour.
Du Jour in Midtown, had a quick bite.
And then we went and saw the revival of Torch Song Trilogy, which was
So excited about that.
It's such a well done production.
It really is.
Just the way they have the sets moving around on stage, it's just everything flows really well. If you're not familiar with the show, Harvey Fierstein, not to be confused with Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Fierstein, big gay playwright, author, actor. He's won Tonys. He is amazing. We love Harvey Fierstein. If you're watching Harvey, hi. We'd love to have you on. Come on the show. If you saw Hairspray, he was Edna Turnblad. Anyway, so he wrote this show back in the 80s, and they're doing a revival of it, and it's small cast, absolutely amazing.
It was really great. I had difficulty with Michael Urie, who played the role that Harvey had played in the movie, and simply because I love Michael Urie. I think Michael
He's a great actor.
I think he's awesome. I think he's amazing. He's fantastic. He's not what you think of. Plus, there are references in the text of the play to him being a very large guy, because Harvey Fierstein is like a very
he's a big guy,
large guy, and he has this very deep voice. And Michael Urie doesn't. And so the effect that Michael Urie did to make it his own role, which I get actors have to do that, is he would talk like this.
He sounded like
Snagglepuss the whole time.
I was like, his acting is phenomenal.
His acting was amazing.
But the choice of Snagglepuss.
I'm watching him do something, and I'm imagining what it looked like when Harvey Fierstein did it, and that's problematic.
And
but this is a who's going to fill that role?
Yeah, it's a role that would be impossible for anyone to fill. So he does a great job in that respect.
He really does.
Mercedes Rule as Ma is unbelievable. The whole cast was great.
Mercedes Rule was incredible.
And
she even got the Yiddish down right.
She really did.
She was really good with the Yiddish.
And I think the nice thing about this is that even though could be seen as a very dated piece, being in the 70s and 80s, the messages and everything still really hold for today.
Sure.
It's just about acceptance, loving who you are for who you are, and just not taking shit from people.
Yeah, and about the idea that we all still seek love, and we all seek validation, and the fact that a lot of that we seek initially comes from our primary families of origin, and that those can be sometimes the more difficult places to find it.
Yeah.
And that it's okay if you create your own family and find it there. That's sort of part of the really beauty of the message for me. We have a lot of news that we want to go over, and we want to talk to this guy here. So chime in on the news. Feel free.
Okay.
You want to start or should I start?
I'll start.
Okay.
So, back when we had President Obama in the glory days, he signed the executive order allowing transgender troops to openly serve in our military. The benefits, their health insurance was going to help cover any gender reassignment surgery. It was wonderful. Now the dumpster fire, who is currently offending people in Asia, he signed an executive order saying, or did he actually sign an order?
No.
Or did he just make the statement? He just made a statement on Twitter, because that's where presidents should make statements.
He made a statement, but it was his Attorney General, Jefferson Sessions. I'm calling him Jefferson for one specific reason, if I might digress.
You may.
He was named Jefferson Beauregard Sessions because he was named after Jefferson Davis. And that is not irony, that is a life-fulfilling prophecy. There's a thing in Judaism where they say when you pick a name for your child, you have to be very careful because we grow into our names.
Mm-hmm.
So if you name your child after someone, that's why a lot of the Jews, or religious Jews, don't name after their child after someone who died young or something like that, because that could become a prophecy. You grow into your name. Jefferson Beauregard Sessions is named for the seditionist Jefferson Davis, who was the first president of the Confederacy in the Civil War. A man who was willing to literally rip this nation apart over his staunch belief that human beings should own other human beings as slaves. And was willing to fight and die for that right to own other people, and specifically African Americans. And so this lovely specimen of humanity that is Jefferson Sessions, our Attorney General, he issued for now, it's not looking good, buddy, especially if Flynn sings, but he wrote a memorandum that basically advised, because the Attorney General has a lot of latitude to help offer memoranda to different local jurisdictions as well as federal jurisdictions, different courts, saying, this is our policy, this is what we do, and they give guidance from these memoranda. And the memoranda that he put out basically said, hey, transgender people in the military, they don't need benefits, they don't need this,
they're actually going to be banned from serving, is how Trump then
had put it.
And thankfully, courts and the military have officially come out and saying, sorry, no, that's not how this works. Transgender people are allowed to openly serve. The one issue right now is still having their benefits cover gender reassignment surgery.
So they do have their military VA benefits, but
they won't cover.
Whereas like a month ago, if you were transgender in the military, and let's say you were having hormone therapy because you've transitioned, in your post-op, you might not be getting that at this point.
Right.
Under President Trump, who was going to be the best for the gays.
I'm so tired of winning.
Yes, he was going to be the best for the gays. Dear God, help us. I want to talk about something else.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I hate talking about seditionists and traitors and treasonists until we get to tar and feather them. So, Kevin Spacey. Can we just talk about Kevin Spacey?
Yeah.
For those of you who aren't aware of what's going on, Kevin Spacey, really excellent actor. I have always been a fan of his work. Kevin Spacey was accused last week by Anthony Rapp, actually another great actor, I'm really big fan of his work. I think off the sort of the energy and the momentum of the whole Me Too movement, with all of these really brave women speaking up about initially the whole Harvey Weinstein situation, and about just systemic sexism and the culture of the predatory nature of culture in Hollywood and other industries based on our rape culture that we live in. Anthony Rapp came out and basically said, hey, Kevin Spacey sexually assaulted me back when I was 14 years old, and then there were other reports that came out. The most recent one was a couple days ago, this thing in vulture.com, if you go read it, we read it this morning.
It's frightening.
This person, for very understandable reasons, did not want to identify himself, but he was a 14-year-old boy who was raped, by his definition, really. I mean, or at least sexually assaulted.
Kevin tried to rape him.
Okay, so he attempted to rape
Yes.
him. Kevin was 25 years old, and allegedly this boy was 14 and was...
They did have a sexual relationship.
They had a sexual relationship, but there came a point where he was coming by just to say hello to his apartment, and allegedly, the way this went down, he
Kevin
tried to rape him, and he kept saying no, and Kevin just kept going until he could finally escape him. Look, I have an ex-boyfriend who worked on Broadway for many years, and there was a known secret that he was gay. Like, we've all known this forever. Like, that's why when he came out with this whole response to Anthony Rapp saying, like, I don't have any memory of this, I'm really sorry, I obviously owe him an apology if that really happened. And
he said he was drunk too. Like,
he was drunk.
If I did it, I was drunk.
If I did it, I was drunk, and I'm really sorry.
Still not okay.
And by the way, I've always had relationships with men and women, and it's like, oh, slow clap, right?
Yeah.
Like you conflated being a sexual predator and being gay.
Not just a sexual predator, a pedophile.
Right, a pedophile.
And sort of, the timing was bad. Like,
Yeah.
If you want to come out.
Yeah.
But not I couldn't have done that because I'm gay. No.
And the right wing of this country has been seizing on this in finding this opportunity to try to conflate the predatory nature of his behavior, the pedophilia, and his identifying as gay. And I just want to put it out there. You know, like we do that thing like, are you vegan or are you plant-based, right? So I got my own little thing here, which is, are you gay or are you a homosexual?
Wait, what is this?
I actually don't
I just
think...
learned this today after 12 years.
Oh.
I
Right.
actually don't think, this is my own personal opinion, not yours, not yours. I personally don't think that Kevin Spacey is gay. I think a gay man is someone who struggles against the dominant culture to reconcile themselves to who they are, to become honest with their own identity as a gay man. They come to a level of self-acceptance and hopefully self-love and self-care, and they develop healthy relationships around an identity that embraces who they know themselves to be. Kevin Spacey has not done that. Kevin Spacey has seen this as a variation, a flavor of sex he enjoys.
Mm-hmm.
He sees it as a sexual behavior. He doesn't see it as an identity of who he is. And he has created a narrative around it, thinking like, well, now that I can come out, he's waiting for us to all sit there and reach open arms. Like, a perfect example, Rosie O'Donnell. We all knew she was lesbian forever and ever before she came out. And then when she came out, there were a lot of people who did the whole, oh, that was really brave, you know, now you're coming off your show and this and that, whatever. But my attitude was, look, you weren't in her shoes, you don't know what her experience was. And the past 2 decades since she came out, look at what she's done, right? Like, that was her process. But she is unquestionably a lesbian, unquestionably a gay person, an LGBT person. Kevin Spacey has been living in the closet, and it's not because closeted people can't be gay. He only came out as a way to hide from the fact that he's a sexual predator and a pedophile. You're not gay.
Yeah.
You're a sexual predator. You're a predatory...
You prey on young boys.
And because it happens to be boys and not girls, you call yourself gay. You're not gay. You're a pedophiliac who happens to be homosexually inclined.
Yeah. It's really curious to me when I think about what was his goal in throwing in, oh, and I'm gay. Like, to be like, that probably happened, but I was drunk and I owe him an apology and I'm gay. Like, what? Was he trying to just distract or try to...
I think he may have really been trying to like get the gay community to come out and say, "Hey, yay, welcome to the team." Kind of like Neil Patrick Harris or T.R. Knight. When these actors came out, there was some welcoming happening. Yeah, Kevin, you're not getting it. No.
No, he might get some prison time. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, actually, statute of limitations are probably way up on these things. No.
Well, it depends
how recent.
How recent the movie
they do keep like coming out. So like the question is, who else are we going to hear from? I think it's sad for all of these men who were affected I think there's a bigger problem with this. And I get why Anthony Rapp did this. Me Too is not about men. Me Too is about women. This whole Me Too movement, which came out of the whole Harvey Weinstein thing.
Well, it didn't. Let's be really. It started actually 10 years ago.
It did.
There's an African American woman who first started trying to get this conversation going 10 years ago, but it just never took off until we had the Harvey Weinstein things happening, and Alyssa Milano then went on Twitter and started doing #MeToo, and that helped fire up the conversation.
Right, and there's actually a really good piece about this in the blog at Encompass the Movement this past week. Ariana Shberti has this really great advocacy movement. Her blog over at encompass.org. Go check it out. It was this whole thing about how when people of color express things, they're not heard in the same way as white women. So like we're talking about this now, not 10 years ago. We're talking about it now because of Alyssa Milano, because of white women, because all these white women are coming up and saying, you know, Rose McGowan is saying, he raped me, and that's real. But when women of color get up and say, he sexually assaulted me, he raped me, they're not heard, and that's a fact. Like that's what we do in our culture. And so that's an unfortunate part of this. But I think that there's a bigger issue here that like, I am so happy that Anthony Rapp, who has been carrying this around his whole life since this happened, felt empowered by this movement to speak up and felt like it was a safe time for him to do that. I really am not okay with the idea of men jumping into this thing. We've seen it on our Facebook as well. Men jumping in and saying things like, oh, me too, you know, I had this too. I mean, look, women can sexually assault men. That's true. And men obviously can sexually assault men. Like it goes any different way. But this is specifically the Me Too movement that has happened in the past few weeks is really about women speaking up against male privilege and male assault on women. And I don't know, for me, even though this is a gay man homosexual man on gay man type thing, like if it's man on man, I look at that and say, this is still men who are the dominant culture, the dominant, in our species at least, coming in and co-opting a moment for women. So we're changing the narrative away from women when what we need to be talking about is women. And like, that's not to say that Anthony Rapp shouldn't come out and say this stuff. I don't know, I guess part of me says like, I'm so glad you're holding on to this feeling and you're feeling empowered, and people should speak their truth when they want to. So I'm not saying that. I just think we have to be really sensitive, especially as men, to speaking up at a time when it could take the conversation away from women. And that's not cool.
I have been on that same side with you for a long time, but the more I've thought about it, I completely disagree. I think people who have been assaulted need to speak out, and this is giving them the courage. I don't want this to be the, okay, well, now, I'm sorry it happened to you, but this isn't the time for you to speak out. This is time for someone else to be speaking out. So I think it's just, if it's empowering you to speak out, speak out.
I get that.
And I get we don't want to take the conversation away
That's
from...
the thing.
We don't want to take the focus off what is happening to women, and they need to be seen and the stories need to be believed. And I think the big takeaway from a lot of this is how Kevin Spacey, Anthony Rapp comes out, makes a statement, everyone immediately believes him, no questions asked. Yet, how many women came out accusing Bill Cosby? 30-something? How many now have come out against Harvey Weinstein? And people are like, oh, well, you know, I don't know.
How many women came out against Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Donald Trump. And everyone went and elected him. So like, and within 1 week of these allegations, Kevin Spacey's lost his representation, they're canceling his show, and he's effectively been politically decimated. I mean,
his career's done.
His career's over.
Yeah,
like,
so
it's really weird.
Yeah, so people are very quick to believe a man, but have a lot of trouble believing a woman. I think that is definitely something that needs a lot of attention.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I would just add that like I don't think that people should ever not speak up about something that's happened to them when it happens. And even if it's taken you until now to do it, I just think that like when you're a celebrity and you're doing it, that's the issue for me. When you're a celebrity and you're having this conversation, you have to know that this is gonna take some media attention and maybe handle that in a slightly more responsible way. Not to say that we should let a sexual predator like Kevin Spacey walk around. We shouldn't. But there needs to be a way to do this to figure out the time. I don't know. These are messy issues, right? And
there is no clear answer.
Let's talk about something else messy.
Animal rights and vegan news.
Yeah.
So yesterday, you kind of had an exciting day.
Yeah, it was a fun day yesterday.
Tell us about it. What'd you do?
There was now the first annual New York City Fur March. I think it's. I always want to throw an anti-fur march.
I know.
It wasn't people walking around like,
Bye,
fur. It was great. There were like, I feel funny being like, wow, that was amazing. But I think it felt like a community building thing that the vegan activist community in New York is really coming together. Like
super strong.
Yeah. So there were over 300 people. We started at the Flatiron Building.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little rally. My friend Leo, who's like a big organizer in the city for New York Animal Defenders.
Yeah.
He did a talk, and it was super cool because, like, we vegans are emotional people. I don't know if you've noticed.
I don't think it's
so. There's a lot of like divisiveness, and see, I'm like even scared to like acknowledge it. And like a lot of it, I think there are a lot of things we need to work out. But there are things like this when over 300 people show up. It was an extremely diverse crowd. And we marched down to Canada Goose.
Nice.
And on that little street, I guess it's Wooster Street? I don't know. I don't think I'm saying the right street.
They must be wanting to move their store at this point.
Like, the neighbors hate the protesters. Like, I didn't see a lot of neighbors today, although, like, I was walking with my friend Rena Degg, whose name I always feel like I'm mispronouncing. And some guy, like the people that live in the neighborhood, this guy was walking and stuff, and like sort of shoved past her, like in a really rude way. I think when they can see you're an animal rights activist, especially on a day when there were 300 people on this little, pretty residential street. I mean, there's stores, but there's a lot of apartments above.
Yeah.
Drums, whistles, screaming. I think the neighbors might get a little agitated.
It's so interesting that they get upset
So
with the protesters,
not with
rather than the animal abusers, right?
Yeah, it was really interesting. Last year, there was I don't know for how many weeks they did it, but every single week through the winter, there was a big protest. And the neighbors, like, it was really interesting to see it all happen. Like, I saw changes in the activist community because there were a lot of different styles of people. There are people in the city that like to, like, turn on their phone and chase someone down the street, saying, shame on you, you're disgusting, you should be wearing fur. And then other people that say, that's absolutely not okay, I'm not going to show up at this protest because there are people doing that. Like, I saw, like, a lot of behind-the-scenes conversation with people, discussing, the big shaming people, the big fur-shaming people having a conversation saying, hey, I noticed there are people who are really good at talking to people in line at Canada Goose. Let's have time during this protest where we don't shout or shame, and those people can do the thing they're good at. It's really interesting seeing this all come together. And we went to city council meetings, we went to district meetings, and showed up and had conversation with the residents who were pissed off and saying, this is why we're coming. We're not intentionally upsetting you, but you're not our target. And that's just, it was cool to see, like, people getting heated, activists and residents, and the conversations sort of like seeing them shake hands at the end of this thing. So it's really a cool movement.
That reminds me a little bit of what went on at Kaparos this year, the Kaparos protest. For those of you who don't know, Kaparos is a Jewish ritual between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Observant Jews are commanded to, Kaparos literally means atonement, to make some sort of an atonement. Historically, this long time ago in Europe used to be done in this sort of barbaric way where sins were symbolically transferred to a chicken, and then the chicken is swung over one's head, and they make a prayer and say, "You're gonna go die, Mr. Chicken, Mrs. Chicken, but I'm gonna live." And they slaughter the chicken, and then ironically eat the sins that they transferred to this chicken. It's a whole weird thing. Anyway, Jews moved away from this long time ago. I mean, I'm the fourth generation of my family that's not doing this, that we do it with money. It's very simple. But there's this community here in very ultra-Orthodox Jews in Williamsburg who do this Kaparos protest. 65,000 chickens get crated onto the streets of Brooklyn. It's a major public health issue. Yeah. And they're slaughtering chickens right out in the street. And these are abused, sick, baby chickens. And so it reminds me when we did the protests, what was it, 6 weeks ago?
Yeah, something like that.
There were some people who'd be like, go home, why do you care? And they get mad at the protester.
Yeah.
And then there were other people who were really willing to engage us in dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit different there because they're part of a community that has this sort of mentality, and they're, I think, a little bit brainwashed into believing what's going on. But I'm always fascinated by the people who fight the protester rather than the object of what we're protesting, particularly when it's violence, particularly when it's oppression, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Kaparos, that's in your show, isn't it?
Yeah.
We should probably talk about your show.
Yeah, I would love it if we did. Oh yeah, there's a t-shirt about this show.
I am writing a show, yeah, because I don't know if they can see it. I'll say it. Animal exploitation.
So you have a big show coming up.
Yeah, this week in New York City.
Ready?
Wednesday and Thursday. I'm totally not ready. But
and you took time to come to join us, so thank you.
Yes, sure. Anything
for vegan
to
pancakes.
Yeah. Yeah, so Wednesday and Thursday night of this week at Dixon Place in New York City, 7:30, did I say that already? I'm doing a new version of the animal show. There's some brand new material in it, video that I captured on the road. You guys saw.
We saw it 2 weeks ago.
One of the new pieces, yeah.
So
Really
I think what's really interesting about this show, and I have all these questions I want to ask you, because I have a lot of questions about this show. This show is a work in progress, right? It keeps evolving.
Yeah. I didn't know it was going to be like that, and I still I go through so many bits. There were a couple of days ago that I was so upset. It's so. I don't want to be too complaining, but it's a hard process of producing. So I self-produce with assistance, people. There are people that contribute, and I have a Patreon page and stuff like that. But I have a director. I need to make sure I'm not being too victim-y here. But it's a lot because I'm writing, performing. I have a PR person, but I'm sort of doing my own social media, and
this doesn't pay the bills
at all. I have to also have a full-time job to pay.
This is your passion. You're an artist.
Yeah,
you're an artist.
Yeah, so I get in these places where it's just I can't. It's too much. So I'm just gonna sleep today. I'm taking a nap.
Yeah, I think that's super normal. Actually,
yeah.
I mean, most of our friends who we know who are artists, and I mean, it's very. I think it's normal and healthy to just sort of shut down for periods of time and just sort of just let the energy just sort of simmer and find its own new level before you re-engage. But
yeah,
I'm curious. Okay, so the animal show, for people who don't know, you did an artist in residency at Tamerlane Farm Sanctuary.
Yeah.
The amazing place. They're an hour out of the city here.
Yeah, a little more than it's a 2-hour bus ride, so I guess maybe an hour and a half drive.
For people who don't know, what is an artist in residency program in a sanctuary? How does it work?
It's really interesting because I made it up as I went along. And I don't know anybody else. Well, I think Woodstock has something similar where it's shorter residencies.
It is shorter,
yeah. I was with you guys. I was in the car coming back from Thanksgiving, and it was the year that Woodstock announced. I just finished Tentative Armor, my show. You can get the album and the book on my website. I just finished it. I finished the book and the album. I did a Kickstarter to fund all that stuff, and I was like, okay, now what? Because I didn't even know I could write that show, but I always wanted to do animal-related stuff, and it was sort of hard to just start writing animal rights stuff for me. It felt forced and kind of corny. So going out to Woodstock for that Thanksgiving, which was my second sanctuary visit ever. The first was also Woodstock for the 4th of July event, also with you guys. They announced they were having this new location and there was going to be housing for people to stay. And I was like, wait, what if I did an animal sanctuary residency, and that would sort of create a space, it would create stories for me to then write about and make a show about.
Awesome.
So that's what I did.
And it's from watching the show and seeing it now a couple times, it's pretty clear that this experience of being around farm animals and cleaning chicken coops and interacting with chickens particularly, like, has like changed you on a fundamental level?
Yeah, you know, I thought when it became clear, because Peter Nussbaum is on the running team, and I had already, through Jeremy, who is a mutual friend of ours, but he put too many stories. I'm like going back story into story and story. Anyway, joined this running team. I had this idea for the sanctuary thing. Woodstock announced their sanctuary, their residency thing that was entirely different from my idea. And I was like, okay, so that's not going to work. What am I going to do? And then I meet Peter. He's on our running team. And I didn't know what the residency was going to look like. I just wanted to like do it. So I had written out a whole thing, and I think I sent it to Peter and Gabrielle. I don't even know if they read it. They were just like, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, come do that. They were like, yeah. So I just started visiting. And wait, I totally forgot what question I was just answering.
So you went out and like started to interact with chickens.
Oh yeah, and when I was thinking about doing it at Tamerlane, I really had this thought of like, that place is just chickens. Like, ugh, what am I gonna write about chickens? I had no experience hanging out with chickens. I just thought they were like dumb little robot things that just walked around and ate and pooped and laid eggs. So I hung out with chickens, and they were amazing. And then I went to Kaporos. I had been to a protest before, but the one that we did before was, you know, like, I'm watching the activists in New York City get more and more aggressive in a way that I think is great. The first year I went to a Kaporos thing, we were on the block across the street from the Eastern Parkway thing, and just like nicely staying in the little pen they made for us, way away from the scene.
I was there with you.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, you know, that same year I had an opportunity to be in it, like in some various ways that I mentioned in the show, and then hang out with chickens and like in a place, in a big chicken yard, when you sit down and they hop in your lap and like they cuddle with you, and they have their own friends and personalities, and you just see that they're not just some dumb little thing. Yeah, they're like extremely intelligent and I was gonna say compassionate. I don't know how compassionate chickens are.
Some of them are not.
Some
of them are really compassionate.
Chickens can be assholes too.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing, like we can all talk about like, oh, like we've got one dog who's kind of a jerk, and we've got another dog who's just as sweet as they come.
Yeah.
And like we've had all sorts of dogs over the course of our lives. You have cats. Like like you know, like saying cats are this is as ridiculous as saying white men. Well, no, maybe not.
No.
But like saying you know, like black women are this. Like it's the most absurd generalization, because we're all individuals. And like the animals, like I don't know why it is that we all can accept the fact that our companion animals, our dogs, our cats, like that they're individuals, and yet there is this idea that chickens are just these, like turkeys will drown themselves in the rain, and that they're stupid. Not true. That chickens are stupid little animals that poop, and like I guess these are things that we're taught to like.
We were taught these things so that way we can then go and eat them
and use them and not feel the empathy that we naturally have for these really curious, smart, sweet, individual, and sometimes real jerky animals, right? Like just that's really interesting. I guess like what's interesting to me, if you don't mind my asking this, like so your art has become a form of activism. And I know you go around and you lecture about this. You had a tour with this summer.
Yeah.
And like
we were kind of like circling each other this whole
Oh
summer.
yeah,
we never crossed up. I mean, it's just they couldn't have too many Vegan Mos in a place.
It would have like the cities would have imploded.
Yeah.
But like, so you go to these different places and you interact with different people from different communities, and you have this really organic experience. You go to different farm sanctuaries. You went to a dairy farm. Like you did the LA Pig Save. You've seen stuff now that you didn't see before you went on this tour.
Yeah.
And some of this we saw a preview a couple weeks ago. Like this is going to be entering into your show now. And to me, speaking for myself, what you've done with the video is like it grabbed me by my throat and I couldn't breathe. And like I was like, no, it was like I can't.
No, this is actually a good thing.
Yeah. But I looked at this and thought of 5 friends who are almost vegan but not quite vegan, who I want to take to your show just so they can look at this in a way that is not threatening, not in a way that's like, haha, I'm just posting this in your Facebook feed, but like, this is part of my show. And by the way, everything I was saying about the chickens before that you were like, here's a pig. What is that? Does that change for you? Because to me, like the imagery is just so haunting, and I want to know like how you survive that and channel that and the feelings that you get from that into your art form.
It feels a little dramatic, but I don't know yet. I mean, obviously I'm surviving that. Like, Joanne MacArthur, all fans, she gave a talk the other day at the Compassion Arts Festival, and someone asked her about how she still had hope, and she said she had hope because these aren't her words, she has low expectations. You know, she's like, she has hope that her work will affect somebody, like, and that's it. You know, like, I don't know, like, I really, especially the past couple of days, like, there's this little period between where I have still time to procrastinate and the time's running out to procrastinate, and I'm still like, why am I doing this? Because, you know, like, producing these shows and doing all this work really has no promise of any sort of payback, right? Like, and it sometimes feels like, you know, like being vegan and trying to communicate veganism to people who don't want to know, it feels useless. But I don't know, like, there were things, I did my show in Houston, and a lot of my friends in Houston were from before I was vegan, and they were just theater friends. And so most of the audience that came, I had a really great turnout. It was like 80 people in this little theater. Most of them were non-vegan, and they got the message. I was really nervous about some of the people, like, oh my God, 'cause there's one spot in the show where I'm like straight up pointing at the audience and like, preachy vegan, which my non-vegan director, who's almost vegan, side note, really encouraged me to be like, no, I know you're much more angry about this, you know, and like encouraged me to have this moment in the show.
Sure. And
people were like, after the show, meat eaters, not like a lot of them didn't go vegan. That's cool. Well, it's not cool, but that's how it was. But there's a guy that messages me still. Like, he sent me a message right after the show and said, oh, I can't eat chicken. I can't eat chicken now. And now he's totally vegetarian. I don't know if he's vegan. It's one of those things that I don't want to like really push and be like, well, are you vegan yet? Because if you're not vegan yet, but he's like, I sort of like keep checking in with him, and he's like, nope. And it was a story in your show about the rooster that I saw being bullied by other roosters. He was like, that connected for him, being a gay guy growing up and getting bullied, that he was like, oh, like, you know, it makes that kind of connection.
That's amazing. Like,
yeah.
So that then the art does become activism, and to me, I think it speaks volumes that like you're able to take these experiences and just share them, because that's what you're doing basically.
Yeah.
You're sharing them through music, through song, through narrative, through images, and you're effectively sharing your experience, which is really what artists of all types do. They just whether it's through song, whether it's through images, painting, dance, whatnot. They're taking their experience and their emotions and translating them into an art form and letting it resonate with who it resonates. And clearly it's resonating, which is amazing. I think that's incredible.
Yeah, I think it's different from just straight up advocacy and activism, because people are coming to hear it. You know, like people that came were like, all right, we're signing on to hear your message.
You're not showing up in their faces, they're coming to see you. Yeah,
and I'm also like just sharing what I see. I'm not telling them what they should see, although I hope people will also see things that way and stop.
I'm presenting you the facts.
Yeah, like, here are the facts, here's my perception of it, and why I made the choices I've made. Please try to make those choices.
So how would you say being gay has influenced your being vegan?
I love that question.
Thank you.
It's hard, like, because for me they're really connected. You know, like, I think I started thinking about animals before I really realized that I was gay, and having like, I've always had this sort of sense of wanting the world to be fair. And it's not, like, my stepfather was often like, it's just not fair, like, the world's unfair. And it's like, well,
so deal with it.
Yeah, but what if we tried to make it fair? What if we tried to behave more fairly. So I think that I had that sort of mindset already, and then coming out and sort of realizing like, oh, I'm not being treated fair. Like having that connection of like, you know, realizing like, oh, I've felt wrong for my entire life because of this unfairness that exists. And animals are victimized because of this unfairness that exists. We're more powerful than them. It's convenient for us, especially now, to just go to the store and buy chicken parts. So let's just do that. You know, like, it just, you know, it's I think it connects with my sort of spiritual feelings and my feelings of being gay, of just like, it doesn't feel good to be fucked over.
Totally.
Yeah, like, so why would I do that? Why would I fuck somebody over? Do we say bad words on this?
No, we're allowed to.
Okay,
It's the interwebs.
It's the
We can say
interwebs.
whatever the fuck we want.
No FCC.
Yeah.
But like, so basically, your experience of being otherized for being gay or for anything is enough to impart empathy for you to other people in similar but obviously not the same situation, whether those people are people of color or immigrants or women or who you aren't and don't have that frame of reference, or who are of a different species who are being otherized for a characteristic, their species in this case, with animals that just literally has like nothing to do with anything they ever chose to be.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
been my experience about why the gay vegan thing is so interconnected, and why it sort of baffles us. I know that like so many LGBT people out there who like love their cats and dogs, and they're like, and they'll tell you they're animal people. They love animals, right? And like they do. There's no doubt. But like they're loving some animals and not all of them. And like it's an interesting paradigm. And I'm curious to see what happens, because I think that's a common thread that actually exists amongst a lot of the Vegan Mos out there. And I'm just sort of curious, like, if that exists like amongst, like, let's say African American vegans, or if that exists amongst, because I think that ultimately that's the intersection we're all looking for.
Yeah.
That's where we all touch, is at our points of empathy. We have something we have to do. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
And you're the first one who gets to answer it.
Oh my God.
Actually, we answered it.
You're
on
our
the
first
one.
as our first guest.
So we do a thing called the favorite five, and it's like, don't overthink the answer. It's just like whatever it is, it's your favorite. We want to know 5 things. Okay. So what is your favorite film of all time?
Central Station.
Central Station.
Yeah. Have you seen this film?
I have not.
Oh my God, it is so good.
Okay,
Like,
what about it makes it good? Sell it.
It's Brazilian. Brazilian? Oh my God, I hope I didn't get that wrong. It's so great. It's a story of a woman who, should I get into it? Like, I can give a quick synopsis. This single older woman who, through this situation, winds up in care. She's a bitter old lady. Sorry to be
Love it already.
Yeah. And her job is to write letters for people, translating them to English. People pay her, and she says she's going to mail them out. She does. She puts them all in a drawer. She's like, whatever. So she never mails these letters that people pay her to translate. Through this situation, she winds up in care of this small boy, and he needs to go find his family. And she is like resentful about it. Blah blah blah.
I'm like, there's a dog jumping.
There's a dog.
Wow.
But you see her transformation, and it's not sugary, and it's really a sad movie. But it's like that type of sadness that is also like, oh my God, we're all alive, and being alive is sad and horrible and amazing and beautiful, and it's great. It captures all.
Now we have to go watch it.
I do.
It's a great film. I love it.
All
So,
right.
question number 2: what is your favorite vegan condiment?
Oh my God, I think I hate to say it, it's so cliche, nutritional yeast.
Ooh.
And I
love
used
that.
to hate it. I
That's
was
a good
very
one.
resentful toward, because people would say, oh, it tastes like cheese.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't taste anything like
It
cheese.
tastes like nooch.
It is not a cheese
It
replacement.
is not a cheese
It's
replacement.
cheese.
When
Yeah,
it tastes like cheese.
when your palate has completely transitioned over to vegan,
Yeah,
then it's a cheese replacer.
yeah, and
It's
I
got
put it on
like-
everything.
It's got good saltiness and just
You
adds
eat
a-
Yeah, and like that sour.
Oh,
Someone
like-
likes it a lot.
on like
Oh,
Someone
nice.
eats it on his food.
sprinkle it on buttered toast.
bad.
That's just so good.
I haven't done that yet,
Yeah.
but butter's not vegan.
What?
Vegan
Okay.
butter.
Next one. This is a hard one. Who's your favorite gay vegan celebrity?
I don't know. Like, this is one I was like, I don't really even, like, can this be multiple choice?
It can be multiple choice.
Because how many vegan gay celebrities are
There
there?
are.
Yeah, fair number.
There's the guy who wrote the
forward to our book.
forward to our book, our cookbook. Hi, I'm coming.
Yeah.
There's
Jane Velez
Jane
Mitchell.
Velez Mitchell.
Oh my god. Okay, she's definitely in the running. Who else
She's
we got?
definitely there. Gosh, there's who
I would
else?
say Nathan Rumble's probably. up
Nathan
there now.
Rumbel is for sure up there. He's a
Yeah.
celebrity. I mean,
Well, look, Jing Bauer.
but he's
great.
Oh, damn it. There are so
That's
many,
called
like,
wishful thinking.
there are
here.
so many handsome vegan activists.
Like there's
That are straight.
Eddie Garza.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Garza.
Oh,
Talk
yeah.
about he's handsome and he's gay and he's vegan Mo and there's so many.
Oh my god, it's so hard. I'm gonna go with Jane Velez Mitchell.
Awesome
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah,
We
I
love
love her.
Jane. She's
Yeah.
amazing. Let's see.
So, what is your favorite gay destination city?
And you don't necessarily have to have visited there, but what do
Yeah.
you think would be the best?
On my trip, you know what I really love? I would think this is like the opposite of gay city, was Asheville.
North Carolina.
No, actually not the other one, Ashland, Oregon.
Oh.
That was like super hippie, like, it's only because I've had the the best veggie burger I've ever had at this place, just in this random thing. That doesn't make it a good gay vegan destination, does it?
Not necessarily. No.
I don't know. I'm terrible at this.
Okay.
I loved Berkeley. Berkeley was
Berkeley's
great.
fun.
All right, last question. What is your favorite vegan destination city?
Just vegan?
Yeah.
Just vegan.
What was the first thing I said? Wait, no, I was naming non-vegan or non-gay vegan celebrities. It's all confusing. You know what? I would just love to go to Berlin. I haven't been there. That seems like a really
That is on our
good
short list.
place.
That is on
Yeah.
our short list, hopefully for the next year.
Oh,
Amazing.
just get a really big suitcase.
We'll
Yeah.
just put you in a suitcase. It's no big deal. Not a big deal. So I can't believe it, but like
So, plug time.
This is like just say it. Plug
Plug
time.
time.
No, like this is
Plug time.
we're sort of wrapping up here because like we're coming up on the end of our hour.
Yep.
But we want to make sure everyone knows about the animal show.
Where
which
people
is
get
gonna be-
tickets.
I guess the best thing to do would be go to my website, michaelharren.com. I've got 2 shows in New York City this week, Wednesday and Thursday, and then next Thursday I'll be in Philadelphia at the, oh my god, I keep wanting to call this place the Atrium. Look at my website, michaelharren.com. So I'm excited to be doing the show in Philly too.
Yay!
Awesome.
It's really awesome show. We're going to be there Wednesday night, so you can come and watch it with us, and I'll be the one crying in the corner. No, it's an amazing show. I've seen this 3-4 times now, and
Yeah.
it's like it just keeps getting stronger. Really, I'm not saying that because you're sitting here.
Yeah.
I'm saying it because it's the truth.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of show quick notes. We're not going to be doing an episode next week. That's why we said it's sort of kind of. Can I put you down?
Sort of, kind of, but not quite exactly weekly.
Yeah, it's not exactly weekly. We're going to be down in Atlanta next weekend. So if you're in Atlanta or you're going to be in Atlanta next weekend, we really hope you'll come out and see us at the Atlanta Veg Fest. That's the Atlanta Vegan Vegetarian Food Festival.
Yep.
It's going to be out at the Conference Center in Marietta, Georgia. Marietta being sort of northwest of the Loop in Atlanta, real easy. And we're doing our demo at 11:30, and it's going to be a mixed media experience. And so, you'll have to come and see what that's about.
Mm.
And
Tomorrow night we will be at V-Spot Organic for the vegan cheesecake throwdown.
we'll be at the V Spot in the East Village over on
Yes.
St. Mark's Place. Do not head out to the one in Brooklyn unless you want to have a delicious dinner there and not have cheesecake. We're going to be making the cheesecake from our cookbook NYC Vegan. That should be really fun. And
So the next time we are live will be on the 19th.
Sunday the 19th, that's 2 weeks from today, and our guest is going to be your favorite gay vegan celebrity, Jane Velez Mitchell.
What?
I know.
I'm gonna be like, oh, I just dropped by.
Yeah, so until then, have a great November. Remember to get out and vote. Tuesday is election day. I should probably turn on some music, but I don't think the speaker's on, so we'll just say goodbye.
Like,
Bye.
We should all sing with it.
you should run in slow motion. Like pre-Baywatch slow
Yes.
motion running.